So I'm down at my local tidal pools in Falmouth, these fantastic rock pools where I love to take photographs and films and see what wildlife is about. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to put together a film about the DiveVolk Plus 18 macro lens. It's one that goes in front of DiveVolk's housing and works with a smartphone. It's a lens that I've been using for about a year now, and to be honest, I've been really impressed with it. It's a fantastic bit of kit, very well made, and the quality that I've got from it has been really good. So I thought rather than just briefly pop up and tell you about it, I'd make a little film showing what it can do and giving some examples and a little bit about how to get the most out of it. Okay, so this is the setup here. I've got it in front of me there. I've made a video about the DiveVolk system and using smartphones underwater before, so I'll refer to that in the links or in the description. Otherwise, what it does is it fits over the front of the housing there, screws on with the clamp, and then you position it in front of the camera's 1x lens. And then after that, it's really just a case of using either the native camera app or a third-party one. So there you can see the housing with the lens in front of it, and the lens uses that clamp to screw onto the front of the housing there, and you position it in front of usually the main camera lens, so the 1x lens on my iPhone. And then the other thing you can see there, apart from the housing and the lens, is DiveVolk's Bluetooth shutter, which I won't talk too much about now, but I have to say it's absolutely fantastic. It's a really valuable piece of kit because it means you can take photographs without actually having to touch the back of the screen and potentially move the camera as you take the photographs. So it's really useful, particularly for macro. So it's a lot calmer today. The wind thankfully has finally died down and the waves are a bit smaller, so hopefully a much better opportunity than the previous few days for finding things in the rock pools. And it's spring, so loads around, so hopefully plenty of opportunity to try out the lens and see what it can do. Okay, so those pools are looking pretty nice. I'm sure there's lots of creatures to be found crawling around in there over the seaweed, so I'm going to have a look and start taking some film and photographs. So all the photographs and the films used in this video have been taken using either an iPhone 14 Pro Max or an iPhone 17 Pro, both of which using the DiveVolk housing and the DiveVolk lens that I'm reviewing. And a quick disclaimer, DiveVolk did send me this lens for free to try out, but they don't have any input into this video. These are my opinions entirely. I'm not being paid or sponsored for this video, and I'll tell you exactly what I think about the lens and its uses. Nonetheless, I've been really impressed with this lens. I think it's fantastically well built and it produces some really nice results. Now, these will probably depend a little bit on the particular smartphone that you have, but I find that it produces some really nice background blur or bokeh, and it renders the images really nicely, both photographs and for film. In general, I think it isolates the subject very effectively and produces a really usable level of magnification. So this is the DiveVolk macro lens, and you can hopefully see that it's a really solid piece of glass and metal. It's extremely well made, and not to spoil the punchline, but I've been extremely impressed with the results it gives. Of all the add-on lenses that DiveVolk make, I'd say this is by far the best. So I do like this clamping system. I think it works well. I think the way that this attaches on the front and then you can move it in front of the different lenses that you might want to use depending upon whether you're doing macro or wide angle is very good. My only complaint really is that this is a bit of a faff sometimes to undo and move around and get in the right position. And because this is really quite heavy and quite a really solid piece of glass, even if I tighten this really hard, this does sometimes move around out of place. And because it sticks out of the front quite a bit there, it's a little bit easy to knock and move. It's not a major issue, and I know that DiveVolk have come out with a new type of kind of clamping screw here with a slightly different design, which makes it a bit easier to tighten, and I'm guessing works better and doesn't move as easily. So it's probably not an issue with any newer bits of kit. So of course for macro, one of the most important things is lighting, and in very shallow environments you can sort of get away with ambient lighting, but generally speaking you need some additional lighting to get the best results, and that is particularly important when it's darker or you're going deeper. Now you can't use strobes with smartphones, they don't work as things currently stand, so you're limited to video lights. At the moment I've been using this little video light here from Leighton Power, which is to be honest, it's kind of a budget light. I think it cost me about £80 online, so it's not anything like a high-spec video light that you might buy. However, it's very good value and it works really well for the price, so I've been quite happy with that. Though I think at some point it would be good to try a better quality video light when I can get my hands on one. The other thing that I have got is this little light here made by DiveVolk, this tiny little video light as well. And this is a nice little thing. It's quite low power, but what it does, which I really like, is it comes with this snoot. And so you screw the snoot on the front there, and then that enables you to produce kind of a little spotlight effect on your subject. And what you can also do is if you sort of detach a couple of things and then reattach it to the snoot, you can then also add these little coloured filters there in front of it, and they're quite fun to play with. I'm not a huge fan of coloured lights in photography and videos, but these are quite fun as a little different effect, and I've tried them a couple of times and they work quite nicely. The only thing about this light is it is very low powered, and because I tend to do stuff that's quite shallow, I must admit most of the time the level of power that this light produces is just not enough to make much difference in the images. So that's why I tend to use the latent power one, because it has a much stronger output, although I'm sure a higher quality light would produce a better quality. So at some point I'll have to try a better quality video light, but for now there's a few options, and this one is quite a neat little solution. I think for when you're deeper down this will be quite useful, because you can, as I say, produce that little spotlight effect, and it's quite a small spotlight, so it's quite easy to isolate a subject with it. So the obvious comparison with using your smartphone to take macro photographs is probably again with these little tiny Olympus or OMTG cameras, which are fantastic. They are really unparalleled in their ability to take photographs and video of tiny subjects. And you can also, if you put them in a housing, you can then add strobe flashes, which is a major advantage for underwater photography, especially macro. However, on the other hand, there are some quite significant limitations with these cameras. The first is the moment you put them in housing and you add strobes and everything, then the compact advantage here kind of starts to go. It's not really that small anymore. You're starting to get into a much bigger camera rig. Second, although this can do 4K video, it's limited to 4K 30 frames a second. Whereas on my smartphone, I can do 4K 120, and if I use Blackmagic camera app, I can do 4K 120, including Apple Log 2, without having to use ProRes, so I can get incredibly slowed down footage, and that's a big advantage if you can't really stabilize the camera very much and you just want to smooth things out or just show things happening in slow motion. The other limitation of this is that it has no proper manual control. And although there are workaround solutions, it's a bit of a faff, to be honest, and it really takes a bit of technique and application to get the best out of these cameras. It's also a small sensor. It's quite old these days. It's not been updated in quite a while, as far as I understand. Smaller than my smartphone sensor, and it also is limited to 12 megapixel photographs, which megapixels are absolutely not everything, but I can get 48 megapixels on my iPhone with a bigger sensor, and so the quality, frankly, on my phone for video especially, but also photographs, I would say is quite a lot better these days. So as I mentioned, this is very high powered. It can do a really good job of finding and magnifying very small subjects, but not really tiny ones. It's not quite capable of getting that level of magnification with the smartphone camera. However, you can, of course, when taking photographs and video on an iPhone, go from 1x to 2x zoom, and I presume that's capable on other smartphones as well, or something similar. That does give you quite a lot of magnification and makes smaller subjects much bigger in the frame. For video, I find that works really well, and I can still do all the kinds of video settings, 4K slow motion and everything, perfectly capable. For photographs though, on an iPhone at least, you drop down from 48 megapixels to 12 megapixels, and the quality is really good, but still not quite so good, and you're losing some of that resolution there. So DiveVolk tell me that they have a new lens or magnifying element coming out, which goes in front of this, which should be available in the autumn, which adds additional magnification for really tiny subjects. So I'm really excited to see what that's like. I can't wait to try that out, because that's probably my main limitation here. Although this is very high powered, it doesn't quite give me the magnification that I need for some of the really tiny subjects like sea slugs and such like that I often want to get footage of. So can't wait for that to come out. And if that really does do the job properly, then I'm afraid my TG6 is going to probably sit in the cupboard for the rest of its days. So overall then, I've found this lens to be really nice to use. It's very well made and it produces some really nice, sharp, clean, crisp images and film, and also quite often it can produce some really nice attractive background blur, though that does depend upon the specific environment that you're shooting in. Occasionally it's not quite powerful enough for really tiny subjects like minute prawns or sea slugs, but for the majority of things you're likely to encounter, this can do a really effective job. It's also capable of producing some nice artistic effects, and overall I've found this to be a pleasure to use, and in the last year or so I've really used it quite extensively and I'm very happy with it.